guys, welcome back to my channel. If I sound differently or the video quality is a little bit different, it's because I have a new camera and I am testing it out. This is my first time making a video with this camera, so hopefully everything turns out fine. If it's crappy, I apologize in advance. But let's go ahead and get into the video. Today, this video is going to be about me and my trip to Mexico with my mom while I was pregnant. I decided to make a video on it because before I went, I was on YouTube looking for people's stories about going to Mexico and stuff while pregnant, just to see basically how their trip turned out and stuff like that. But yeah, basically back in November, I went to Cancun with my mom. She had planned a girls trip and we were going with a big group of her friends. I had kind of put off telling my OB until maybe a month before we were supposed to go, because I was too afraid that they might give me like a hard no, or I don't know, just make a big deal about it. But I did end up telling my OB maybe 2 appointments prior to me leaving, because I actually had a doctor's appointment the day before we were scheduled to leave. Basically, they told me it's not advisable. Basically, if I went, I would be doing it at my own risk. You know, they consulted me and gave me information on Zika and all that stuff. Basically, being pregnant, they were worried about me contracting Zika or any other type of disease that you might contract while abroad. Basically, actually, let's rewind back. In 2016, I was pregnant the first time with my son, and that's when the Zika thing was really big and all over the news and stuff like that. Whatever. So I was worried. Pretty much spent the summer trying to stay indoors, but that was literally the summer that my family wanted to do everything. We went to Florida, and the fun thing about it is we went to Florida, my doctors and them, I guess because it was still on US soil, but my doctors and them really weren't worried about me going to Florida and stuff like that. But there were cases in Florida, so basically I just used bug spray while I was in Florida. Went to Disneyland or Disney World and all that stuff like that. So we were outside quite a bit, but I did make sure when we had the rental down there, my mom made sure to get a house that had the netted in pool, so I wouldn't have to worry too much about being outside while we were just at the rental house and stuff like that. In 2016, the only bug spray I used was this, which is the Avon bug spray. Yeah, I think this was the only thing that I used back in 2016. When we went to Mexico, I made sure I used this. I used this while on the resort, and then we did go to a flea market and stuff that was off the resort but still in the tourist areas or whatever. And if I went outside and did all that stuff like that, I used this off, which is the family care off. It's the dry and smooth, and it tells you on here it repels against Zika or whatever. So that's what I used when we ventured outside of the resort, and that's what I used while on the resort, at the beach and stuff like that. I just made sure I kept it with me and reapplied it whenever I felt the need to reapply. So I think on here it gives you specific directions as to when to reapply. But yeah. But basically, my OB didn't advise it. When I finally did tell them that I had decided to go, they were just like, well, you know, when you come back, we can run tests and stuff if you feel like you've contracted anything or gotten bit by anything or have any weird skin things going on or anything like that. To make a long story short, Mexico was wonderful. Didn't see a single bug. Like, literally did not see a bug whatsoever. The only things with wings that I saw were birds. Like, literally, I didn't see an ant. Like, like, no, nothing. And then based on the conversation I had with an older gentleman on the plane going there, it kind of eased my mind too, because he had said he never had problems with insect bites or anything like that, nor did he have problems with the food and stuff like that. So it was really comforting. And so basically, like I said, I use those 2 bug repellents. They say like wear long sleeves and stuff like that and cover up and all that stuff. Mexico is hot. Don't nobody have time to be wearing no long sleeves, no nothing like that in Mexico. Mexico is hot. So basically, I wore what I would wear on any beach trip. I just made sure I had my bug spray handy. Like I said, I didn't see any bugs or anything like that. When I came back though, you know, my regular OB questioned me and gave me the whole rundown of symptoms, or if I felt any which way or that. I didn't have a bite, no weird rashes or anything to where I would suspect that anything had touched me or entered my bloodstream or anything like that. For extra precautions, my doctor did want me to go to a high-risk doctor. I agreed, because initially I was thinking in my head that the high-risk doctor was going to do something differently than my OB and check for stuff that my OB couldn't check for. But actually, when I went to the high-risk OB, they did the exact same thing that my regular OB did. So I just feel like my doctor's office was just trying to make sure they took extra precautions, which you know, I'm grateful for. But at the same time, like, I still thought it would be a little bit more, I don't know, kind of felt like I wasted my time just a little bit, because the high risk place asked me the same exact questions that my regular OB asked me. And it seemed like the high risk doctor was more concerned about like my family history of certain stuff, like Down syndrome and sickle cell stuff, that they really weren't concerned about the Zika stuff, because I told them I didn't get bit, I didn't feel feverish, no, nothing like that, like nothing. Basically at the high risk, they did an ultrasound just like my regular OB. My first appointment I had, they said that the baby was too small to really tell if anything was wrong. Everything looked okay, but it was still too small to see whatever it was that they needed to see. So my second appointment, I went back probably about a month later, and it was actually the day before I was scheduled for my regular OB for my anatomy check. So I go to the high risk doctor. They do the ultrasound. Everything checked out good. Everything was fine. But they did make a comment about not being able to get a picture of the baby's spine or whatever. But they were like, you know, we want you to come back. So when I told them I was scheduled for my regular anatomy scan the next day, they was like, well, if they can get a good look at the baby's spine and stuff like that, you can go ahead and, he's like, we'll go ahead and set up an appointment for next time, but everything is fine, they'll just cancel it for you. So I'm like, okay. And basically they were saying the brain looked fine. Usually if there's something wrong with the spine, that it would be reflected in the ultrasound of the brain, but everything looked fine. So the next day I got to my regular OB. I don't think they really were communicating back and forth. They knew I had went to the high risk doctor, and basically they were asking me what the high risk people said. And I was kind of like, well, I mean, I did not communicate the information like I was referred. But anyway, basically with the sonographer there, she was about to go through the whole ordeal and stuff like that. Basically, after she told us the sex of our child, I had told her, like, basically I had went to the high risk place, did everything but couldn't get the spine. So she was like, oh, okay. She was like, so everything else checked out. They took pictures of blah, 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 blah. I was like, as far as I know, yeah, they told me everything was fine. So she took pictures of the spine and stuff, said everything was fine. Basically, right now my child is a breech. So I have to go back next week anyway, because they want to monitor that. And then I had made the mistake of drinking like juice before my appointment, so I have to do an early glucose test. Hopefully I do not have diabetes. Like, I can barely remember to take my prenatal pills, so I already know it's gonna be hard to be checking somebody's blood sugar all the time. But anyway, but yeah, that is my complete surviving Mexico story. Like, if you want to hear, I guess, more about the resort that we stayed at in Mexico in general, just leave a comment below. I can make a separate video on that. If you have questions, any more questions about me being pregnant and in Mexico, and about any of my experiences while I was there, you can go ahead and leave a comment and I'll try to answer it as soon as possible. I'm trying to think if I've left anything out. I will say, when I went to Mexico, it was early on in my pregnancy. I was between, what, 11 and 13 weeks when I went. So it was fairly early on. Right now I'm about 21 weeks. So yeah, everything is fine. Just comment below if you have any questions. Until next time, bye.